Focus and surround yourself with people who support you. And I know you have one or two or five. Those are the key people in your life. Those are the people that matter. Surround yourself with those people and then put yourself out there because then it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks because you have your people. You have your people, your support network. Just put yourself out there. Take that step. You're never going to regret it. Take that moment and don't be afraid of change. Evolve, live life to the fullest and have that courage because as long as you have those people, everything's going to be okay.
Welcome to the Favorite Self podcast. I like to think of it not as your future self or your best self, but your favorite self. My favorite self that just makes me feel the truest version of me. What lights your favorite self on fire? I'm Carly Ottaway, founder, author, storyteller, and a woman who learned that building a successful life means nothing if it doesn't feel like yours. This podcast is for women who are building businesses, raising families, leading movements, and asking themselves, is this it, or is there more available to me? This is your invitation to come back to yourself. Let's dig in. I am so excited for today's conversation because Jennifer Jones is someone I have admired for a very long time, first from afar and now more personally and professionally. Of course, you might know Jen best as one of the greatest curlers of all time. She is an Olympic gold medalist, world champion. She's also a national best-selling author of Rockstar. She's a speaker, a broadcaster, a lawyer, an entrepreneur, and a podcast host. But what makes this conversation extra special for me is that I've also had the honor of witnessing so many of these evolutions of hers up close. Jen and I first met in 2022 before she was heading off to the Beijing Olympics. And at the time, I already knew exactly who she was because I grew up in a house where curling was often on the TV. And it's so wild to me that I now get to know the person behind the name, the medals, and the legacy. And since then, I have watched her move through so many chapters: the Olympics, retiring from competitive curling, writing and publishing her book, launching her website, starting her podcast, and continuing to expand into this next version of her life and career. And honestly, Jen has expanded me in so many ways. She has helped me believe that bigger dreams are possible, both in business and in motherhood. And one of the things I admire most about her is the way she is so deeply present as a mom while still allowing her kids to witness her dreams unfolding. She does not separate motherhood from ambition. She brings her kids along for the journey, and you can feel it and see it in their own evolution. In this episode, we are talking about introverted leadership, visibility, identity, motherhood, writing her book, life after curling, and what it means to become more fully yourself in every season. I can't wait for you to hear it. Hello and welcome back. I have such a special episode and guest for you today with someone who I look up to and admire so much. This really feels like such a full circle moment for me having you on the podcast, Jen. You are just obviously such a legend in the curling world. And really, what I'm most excited to talk about today is the woman behind the legacy, the leader, the mother, the incredible author of Rockstar, and just the human and the woman that continues to evolve. And I've had the privilege of being able to witness a lot of that evolution over the last few years. And yeah, I'm just so happy to have you here. So thank you for coming on the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
So, like I mentioned, I've been able to watch over the years. We met back in end of 2021. I was reflecting on that. And just meeting with you the first time, I grew up with parents in the curling world, so I knew what a legend you are as the goat of curling. And then I got to connect with you like right as you were heading into the Olympics and, get my kids to be able to be part of that behind the scenes and just watch and feel like so closely part of that journey. And I've just always admired the way that you show up. And I'd really love to start by talking about visibility. And has visibility been something that's always felt natural to you, or has it been something that you've grown into, and what has that experience been like?
Visibility is a great way to describe it, very eloquently. I hated being in the public eye, like, being honest. Not hated, hated such a strong word that I guess I should not use, but I it just made me feel so uncomfortable. I was a very, very shy kid, did not like any attention on me. I remember when I was little, I would not want to have a birthday party because I was always scared that what if people didn't show up? And I did have friends, but I just didn't like to be the center of attention. Like I don't think I had very many birthday parties because of that. I just did not like I didn't want people to sing happy birthday to me. I didn't want to be the center of attention. I just wanted to blend. I just wanted to blend in and do my thing. And then all of a sudden I started curling and we had some success and now my picture's on the front of the newspaper. I mean, back then that's what it was. And but you could kind of get through, just being who you were. And in Manitoba, people knew who Jennifer Jones was because I had success, but without social media and all of that, you could kinda just go about your business, and then it started to grow, and I remember Twitter first started, and, it would have been in around 2014, probably started a little bit earlier than that, but one of my teammates got Twitter right before we headed to the Olympics in 2014. I remember asking her, "So you have this app and you post stuff about what you're doing? Like, why would anybody want to know that?" Like, it was just something I couldn't even wrap my head around, and so she had it, and she was posting, and sure enough, people did care about what people were doing, and you look at where Twitter X is now and Instagram and all of that, so it was just something that was so foreign to me that I just didn't understand why people cared so much about what other people were doing, and it was something that I just never felt comfortable in, and I was always I think my biggest not problem, but is I never wanna let people down, and I don't know, I feel a lot of stress. It's just this, like, when you're constantly being examined and under a microscope and a magnifying glass, it was just hard, like, I just always didn't wanna let anybody down, and I just wanted to be able to be myself, but then you kind of fast forward, now there's social media, there's all this pressure to be on social media, there's this pressure to kind of reveal yourself, and I think after I had kids, I became a lot more secure in who I was and kind of got this realization, you know what, I like who I am. I really like who I am. I know I'm a good person. I would do anything for anybody and okay, it's time. It's time to go on social media. It's time to put myself out there and more so I think also to control my own story, to let people know who I was instead of them kind of trying to figure out just from watching me on TV. And when I curl, I'm intense and I'm focused but it's probably the opposite of who I am, like, in everyday life. I remember doing a personality assessment for, a sports psych once, and I said, "Well, do I do Jennifer like the curler Jennifer? Do I do Jennifer in everyday life?" He's like, "Well, it's kind of the same." I'm not really. Like, I felt like I was these 2 different people, and so I think visibility and being out there and putting myself out there and having the courage, and it took me a lot of courage. It took a lot of courage for me to do it. It helped me show the other side of myself and also create a story for our kids to follow along and to know and kind of put it down in history, and I think that's one of the other reasons I wrote the book, but no, when you talk about visibility, it's definitely been baby steps for me and like, even these people that film day in a life, I'm gonna do a day in a life soon. I'm like, "Why would anybody wanna know what I do in my life?" But, people do, and trying to put yourself out there where you put your video of yourself without makeup on, getting up in the morning and doing all of those things, and that takes courage, and, I'm getting there, which is it's good. It feels kind of almost like a weight's lifted off your shoulder, and you're just free to be authentic, and you kind of get this I don't know, point of view where you don't care as much what other people think, which is kinda nice.
I love it because you talk a lot and you write about this in your book about being an introvert in a world that really kind of forced you to almost perform a little bit more extrovertism. Extrovertism, is that a word? But really step into this more extroverted form of showing up or I'd love to talk about like your leadership and that we'll get to that. But I find it so interesting with, when you had so much success in this sport and you experienced the full spectrum of being in the spotlight when before, like, social media was a thing, really, and having the media very much tell your story and create the persona of who Jennifer Jones is, to now being able to completely control your own narrative in that and really show up as who you are. So can you speak a little bit to that as, you mentioned like being an introvert and how that showed up both in your leadership and curling, and then how that has also come up even in now and how you're approaching your personal brand?
Wow, tough questions. But yeah, no, I definitely am introverted. And so, but my life became very extroverted, very public, and I had to, network and talk to people and become this person that was going to be successful because I believe that it was my role on our curling team to be a leader. And that was something that I actually, so we'll go back in time. I didn't really want to be the leader. Like, I just wanted to do my thing. I never want to make anybody feel uncomfortable, or I never want to feel like a boss. Like, that was just not my kind of normal feeling. But I had to become, when we sat down and said, when we're successful, it's because I'm a leader. So I had to kind of wrap my head around that role and what did that mean? And that meant I had to be a little bit more extroverted. I had to put myself out there. I had to have this confidence. And even when I really didn't have a lot of confidence, that was probably one of my biggest downfalls, actually, is that I lacked confidence. People never believe that because, again, how the media portrayed me or how I came across on TV was somebody who was full of confidence, who was not scared of anything, and meanwhile, like, I had so much self-doubt and didn't really have the confidence that I know I needed to have in order to be successful, so I kind of, for me to be a leader, I had to fake confidence, but I had to be able to look at my teammates in the eye, and I had to look confident. I needed them to believe that I believed in them, which I did, but also that I believed in myself, and that if they put the rock in my hands, the last rock in my hands, that I was gonna do everything in my power to be successful. And so I really worked on that, making eye contact and showing them, making sure that I showed up and I was where my feet were, as we say, that I was completely present. Instead of, like, thinking, "Oh, I just rather go and be off by myself," I had to be engaged and I had to be involved. And I look so much nowadays with people on their phones all the time. Like, how many times you go into a meeting and everybody's on their phone and they're distracted and they're not really listening to you? But when you have that full engagement and people are looking at you, you know you're part of a team and you feel so powerful and so strong. And I always challenge everybody to be that person, be engaged, turn your camera on if you're on a Zoom, look at people, feel that you're really present, and that's kind of how I became a leader, is that I showed confidence, I tried to be there for my teammates, tried to show them that I was confident in them, but also confident in myself, that I would be there for them no matter if we made a mistake or if we were successful, that we always had each other's backs, and that the introvert in me, that was something out of my comfort zone, but it almost feels natural, like it's become a part of my everyday life, but I still have to protect, I would say, my introvertism. We're gonna go there, that, like, when I'm in the public eye, like, I still need that time to myself. Like, when we were at big events, we would always get our own rooms when we could later in, like, for a world championship or actually the Olympics, you can't, so you're all roomed together, but I needed that quiet time. I needed to refuel, and any introvert will know that you need that time where there's just quiet and silence, and so I protected that a little bit to make sure that I could have that, but no, leadership is not something that I wanted to have, but then when I had it, I realized that, it's something that I believe I was really good at. I was compassionate and caring and tried to lead by example. And, if my teammates were on the ice, even if it wasn't me, I'll name Dawn in particular. Dawn would not leave the ice until she made certain shots, but I also wouldn't leave the ice until Dawn made certain shots. I never ever wanted anybody to feel alone because that's my worst fear, is feeling alone and that you don't have people around you that are going to support you. And I always had my family, and then all of a sudden now I had this team and this community of people that were gonna uplift you because you form such a tight-knit bond, and that was the leadership style I wanted to have, is that we were always there for each other.
That was great, and really that was finding your leadership style that still felt authentic to you, and kind of the difference between, I guess, like, the quiet, maybe more behind the scenes leadership versus the loud, more kind of confronting leadership, which is so fascinating to me because I feel like that's exactly like you said, what you see on the ice or what you see on TV, but it's not actually the leadership that's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, sometimes I think you have to have both. Like, when we were curling, we were on a time clock. Decisions had to be made, they had to be quick, and that was my job. Like, I had to be that person that would kind of show us the way. But then off the ice, I feel more, like I was more tender is the word that comes to mind right now, but just more caring and trying to, always support our team and really allow everybody to be authentically them. And that was something that was very important to our team is that we were very different people, but we respected and appreciated the authenticity of that, like how everybody brought a different perspective and a different view of things. And I think it's why we were successful. And so I always say if I was going to form a great team, whether it's in business, sports, or whatever, it's easy to surround yourself with people like you because, well, hopefully you like yourself and, it just feels easy. Like it's not, there's no confrontation. It doesn't feel hard. But when you kind of surround yourself with people who are different, you share on all these amazing perspectives and views and things that you never would have seen had you not seen it through their eyes because they see things differently. And it makes you so much stronger and bigger than you could possibly have been. And I believe it's allowed me to enjoy more parts of life than probably would not have enjoyed if you didn't allow those people to kind of shape you and your life and your perspective.
And I really admire the way that you see people. I think that's such a superpower of yours, and that became so clear reading your book, just the way that you share the stories of other people's superpowers and, you know, in the team building especially, how it all comes together and just, like, the community feel of it, like, so much powerful storytelling, and it really gave me a whole other appreciation for the world of curling too and just what a powerful community it is. How would you say that you have maybe taken some of those pieces and brought them to kind of your online presence and building a community there? Can you speak to that a little bit? Or, even just as you're evolving beyond just Jennifer Jones the curler into more business and business ownership and entrepreneurship and speaking and of course publishing your book. What has that evolution been like?
Yeah, no, it's been great. Like I do believe I'm very perceptive and I can really read people and know if they're sad or upset and kind of what they need. But I believe as society we owe it to everybody to do that. And I know some people can't see it and I get that and I understand that. But I've learned along the way that it's small acts of kindness that are always gonna make you they energize me. When you see a little thing that you can do for somebody and it lights up their world, what it also lights up your own. And it's just I think it's physiological. Just seeing joy and happiness in somebody brings joy and happiness to yourself. So I believe that those small acts of kindness when I first started out as curling, I curled because I loved it. I curled because I wanted it to give me confidence. I curled because I wanted to be a part of a team, and then I happened to be okay at it. And then we had success. But it was the curling itself and being a part of a team that actually gave me my joy, not the winning. The winning was great, don't get me wrong, like, it was like little icing on the cake, but it was just being a part of something so great. But what I didn't realize, I think really until later in my career, and especially when I retired, is that people looked up to us, that we were role models. And wow, like I still I get goosebumps. Like I still can't believe that you could impact somebody's life in that way just by doing something that you love to do. So it's a big obligation, not in a bad way, but it's a responsibility that I never took lightly, that we are these public figures and people were going to look up to us. And so if a fan wanted an autograph, I would always give an autograph. I would always. And I would stay till the very end. I remember sometimes I would have to go and do media because they were on deadline and I didn't want to stress them out. So go off and do media, but I would promise everybody I will be back to sign the autograph because it's just a small act of kindness that would make somebody's day. And you hear all the stories along the way from fans when I retired, and I think that's the something that I cherish the most and that I value from my curling experiences, and that's really shaped me as a person and shaped me as a parent, as a leader, as a business owner, is that how we treat people, how we show up for people, how we show up for our family, our friends, our teammates, our colleagues. How we do that is how people are gonna remember you. They're not gonna remember the success you've had or the paper that you've written. They're gonna remember how you worked with them, worked together as a team, how you uplifted them, how you brought out the best in them, and that has given me a lot of, joy in my life, and so that's really what I wanna give back as well, is just try to help everybody feel their very best about themselves. And I'll use dance for example. So I'm a new dance mom, fairly new in the dance world. I don't know a lot about dance. I know that I enjoy watching it, that I think the athleticism is unbelievable. But our girls will finish a dance, and every single time I come off and I'm like, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Because it was. In my view, it was one of the most, I just loved it. I thought they nailed it. I thought they did their best. They smiled, they had joy. And then I'll hear some other people, well, they didn't do this right and they didn't do this right. But it's about, can we shape that story? Yes. But for me, through my eyes, it was perfect. And and I know that we can always be better, and that's something that I've always worked for in my career is trying to push the limits, trying to see where we could take it. And I do believe that we helped grow women's curling and push kind of the level of skill in women's curling, and that means a lot to me. But in the moment, if you're doing what you love to do and you did your very best, does anything else matter? Why can't we should remind everybody of that. Like remind, did we try our best? Did we do our best? People are going to make mistakes. And that's what I think curling has taught me, being around so many different people, and just trying to be there for them, being kind. If somebody looks beautiful in a day, tell them they look beautiful. Or if they, like you can say to a mom who's racing to pick up their kid and it's like, don't worry, you still have 30 seconds, you're on time, right? Like, like all of these moments of we just try so hard to be so perfect. And if everybody around us can remind us that perfection is really not needed, it's just your very best. And if you do your very best every day, that's all anybody can ever ask of you, and yeah, so I go to these I don't stop smiling the entire dance competition, like, I just think it's you see these kids putting it all out there, and I just think it's so awesome, and I'm so proud of them. Like, getting up on stage and performing is hard, and you do it to the very best of your ability, amazing, right?
I love that advice, and you heard it here from Olympic champion, world champion, I think that's so important, especially for parents of kids in sport. I think it's really cool to have kids that are playing sports that weren't your sport if you were an athlete. It gives you a whole other perspective. Some like my daughter, we were just talking before we recorded about how we're stepping into the soccer world. I'm a softball girl, like, it's a whole other world to me, but I actually think it's really cool because I get to learn it and experience it through her rather than feeling a little bit more like I have the expertise and authority that I have to then, like, almost come from more of a coach perspective, which I don't want right now. Like, maybe one day that will be the experience, but right now, no, I'm the parent and being able to distinguish. But I just wanna recognize, first of all, like, how really is rooted in the core value of presence that you've always shared and something that you've always inspired me with too, especially in motherhood and in business. And I've witnessed this with you firsthand. I've seen you play live. I've had the privilege of seeing the fans come up and how engaged you are after the game and talking to everyone and also watching you on your book tour and again like seeing the time and energy that you spend into put into every single conversation and it really shows, and it shows in the impact that you have in the relationships that you've built, and I think that exactly what you said, like, I mean, you have so many accolades, your long list of accomplishments, and really remembering that, like, what people remember is that you actually just took the time to, chat with them after the game or at the book tour, whatever that looks like is what matters most,
I think
and
so, I do, like
we'll talk about parenthood too, but I'm so curious for you, like, as someone who has the coaching experience, who has, daughters in competitive sport, and then for you that has been on literally the biggest competitive stages in sport, what is that like when it comes to what advice would you have for other parents? I just to kind of go on that a little bit more, like, what would you share with them in terms of how they can best support their young kids in sport, especially?
well, what's interesting, and people find this really odd about me, is I'm actually not very competitive, which, like, we can play a board game and I'll probably make it so you win. I'd rather the person I'm playing win than myself. Like, I'm competitive in curling. That is, I am. I will admit that. But I think for me, I grew up in a family where, and my dad's passed away. And I was reflecting because it was the anniversary of his death recently. And I always think about him and I reflect on him and what I'm grateful for. And even in the moment, I don't think I really fully realized, but my dad showed up. My dad showed up no matter what. and he showed up for his granddaughters before he passed away. He would go and watch dance. He would go to gymnastics, and they were little then. And were they very good? No. No, they weren't at that time. Like, they're learning how to do a front roll, and there's my dad cheering for them and sitting there in the stands for 2 hours and cheering, and not one moment would go by where he didn't have a smile on his face. And that was my childhood. And I took that for granted because I just assumed that everybody did that. And if I would be curling and my dad was a curler, I played softball too. I was a baseball girl, so softball and and my dad was an umpire. Um, and I was a pitcher and my dad was a pitcher. So let's say I was pitching and I might have had a bad pitch and cost us the game. My dad would never talk about it. He's like, great performance out there today. If there's anything you want to practice, just let me know. Like, it was never about the outcome. It was about how I felt. If there's anything, like, I was the one that would have to go to him to ask if there was some kind of advice I wanted, or even curling. Like, they just showed up. And it's so simple to me, is all parents need to do is show up. Show up and like smile and live vicariously through your children. I always say when we were little, we believed that anything was possible. Our kids believe that anything is possible. Our kids believe that they could be the Prime Minister of Canada. They could win the Stanley Cup. They could go and win FIFA. They could win the Olympics. They feel like there's nothing stopping them. As kids, we believe that. And as we get older, real reality kind of sinks in. People remind us of our realities and how we're limited, or I might have a dream of playing volleyball, but my parents didn't specialize me young enough, so I don't get those opportunities. And so all of a sudden, you kind of have these feelings of, I might not make it. But right now, as a parent, live vicariously through your kids where anything is possible. Show up, smile, and realize that they're doing it for the joy of doing it. And when they lose, and if they are a little bit sad that they lose, or if they're on the dance stage and they miss their turn or something that I'm not even sure what it is, I didn't even notice because I was just feeling the joy of them doing that. And remind them of those joys, like how lucky we are to do that. You're doing it with your friends. Did you do your best? Did you try your hardest? The answer is yes. That in itself is more than most people can say because most people aren't willing to put themselves out there. So if you can put yourself out there and try your hardest and be willing to try to go and work and improve and just continue to do it, that's, I don't know, just show up and enjoy it. Live vicariously through them. And I do believe, and I'm probably now in the minority of way people, I don't believe we should specialize our kids too young too. Like, let them find their path. Let them try different things. Like, this year, Skyla had to give up hockey. My youngest had to give up hockey because she wanted to dance more, and she was gonna miss too much hockey, and we don't like to let a teen down, so she decided she liked dance better than hockey, but she tried all of these things. And I remember playing volleyball in high school, and I loved it. First time I tried volleyball would have been in grade 6 or 7. Like, we weren't very good back then, but now kids are specializing in grade 4, so you don't have all of these opportunities to try different things, and I don't know. I think you should try until you reach a certain age, love it, and if you're a parent, don't look at the outcome, look at the effort, and if your kid's putting in enough effort, then celebrate that, congratulate them. If they're not putting in the effort, then ask yourself why. Why are they doing it? Are they doing it because you want them to? Are they doing it because they want to be with their friends? Is there something else that they may love more? Then maybe focus on that. Because all you want, I think most parents, all they want is for their kids to be happy. That's all I want. And for them to have the opportunity to thrive and be their very best. But be happy, right? That's all I want, right?
Yeah. I think that's so powerful and just remembering what a mirror you are for your kids and that you get to reflect back just their effort and, encourage that. And just remember to catch yourself because I think where it goes wrong and where you see, you witness that a little bit on the field or in the stands is when parents start to feel their own insecurities come out. Right. And it's actually like their own insecurities, whether that's maybe they don't even recognize it or have the awareness of like what triggered them in sport or whatever that looks like. And just really, I think that's so important and such a powerful perspective that you
Well,
shared.
sometimes it comes from a really good place because
Yeah.
you want your child to be happy. You want them to be successful because it will make them happy. You want them to still be a part of the team. Like I'll use
Yeah.
dance or hockey. You have to do certain skills. You have to be at a certain skill level in order to make the team. So I think sometimes parents are like trying to push their kids because they know they want this. And we're realists. We know in order to achieve this, well, you have to be able to do certain things, but just let it authentically unfold and let them be the ones to ask you for, say, "You know what? I think I need extra skating help," or I need to help on my jumps and turns." And then as a parent, let's figure out how to help them solve that problem
Yeah.
instead of pushing it for them, because I do believe a lot of times it comes from a very good place. It's just the way it's kind of worded, but I don't know. I think at the
Yeah.
end of the day, if you can just live vicariously through them, you're gonna instantly feel joy because kids just love doing what they're doing for the most part.
Yeah. I think it's so permission giving and really just letting parents just be the parent and, have take that step back. They're not the coach. That's what I always remind myself. Like they have a coach. I don't need to fill that role. I get to be the parent. Since releasing my book, Coming Home, one of the things I've heard again and again is that it feels like a mirror. Women have told me it felt like having a late night conversation with a friend, that it really helped them see their own courage, their own heartbreaks, their own hopes, and the parts of themselves still waiting for permission. And honestly, that's exactly why I wrote it. Coming Home is for the woman who is building a business, a family, a life, a dream, and looking to do it in a way that actually feels true to who she is. It's a book about healing, storytelling, motherhood, ambition, identity, and the courage to build your own path when the one in front of you doesn't quite fit. So, if you've been craving a reminder that you are allowed to want more, become more, and still come home to yourself in the process, I think you would love Coming Home. You can grab your copy through the link in the show notes. And I would love to actually, you mentioned how, as we get older, we kind of lose sight of just like that big dream, like anything is possible kind of mentality. But you are someone that is very much like rooted in kind of your life mantra and especially like the why not me piece that you write about in your book. And I know you share a lot about on stages. Can you speak a little bit to that and how you share or how you give advice to others to continue to believe anything is possible and really dream big, especially when they're feeling like they've, maybe taken a few hits and they're really feeling like, okay, is this actually in it for me? Is this possible for me?
No, and I don't think it's something that actually came naturally to me. It was really the "why not me" saying that one of my sports psychologists had told me. It's like, we always think, "Why me?" when something goes wrong. "Oh, why me?" all the time, and it's like, "But why not you?" And it doesn't have to be when something goes wrong. It's like, "Why can't you achieve all of these things?" I think for me, and you're right, not to say it always happened. Like, when I was a kid, I didn't really have a lot of dreams because I was so insecure and so, just didn't have a ton of confidence. I just really wanted to get through the day and just I think I dreamed of actually feeling like I would fit in. Like, that's really was my dream. And then you kind of achieve that and you gain this confidence and you feel different things. I think for me, being able to chase a dream, being able to have a vision and a plan and something in place where I was constantly trying to reach benchmarks. Like, I need benchmarks. I like benchmarks. I like to try to, baby steps. You don't need to have this big you can have a big dream and this big vision, but for me it was baby steps and feeling like, and even in business, you might have an annual plan, but you'll have quarterly objectives and you try to like achieve those and it always makes you feel like you're moving forward. And somebody said to me very early on in my, adult life, early 20s, which feels like yesterday, but it's not. But that's a good thing that it feels like yesterday, is that you should celebrate your successes, the little ones. It's easy to celebrate the big things. It's easy to celebrate graduating from law school. It's a big moment in life, right? Everybody comes around. But celebrate getting through your torts exam because torts was very hard for you. Like, celebrate those little moments. Celebrate going to the gym when you really don't feel like it. When you get back from the gym and you've gone and you did 20 minutes. 20 minutes is better than 0 minutes. celebrate yourself. Maybe don't have like, well, you can, you just went to the gym. Maybe you could have a blizzard, or you could just, just even say out loud, I'm proud of you. Like those things will actually, like, I believe it's like it'll give you joy. It'll give you the endorphins to feel that you're successful. Don't always look at the big pictures because I can guarantee you that every single day there's something that each one of us can celebrate. Whether it's as a mom, showering before your kids go to school, like actually getting up early enough and getting ready and like, doing these things, getting a lunch packed that they're never going to eat anyway, but getting that lunch packed, and like maybe getting a fruit and vegetable in there, well done. Like all of those little moments, getting to school on time and just celebrate those. And if you can celebrate every day, then you feel like you're kind of moving those pillars, and so it allows you to continue to dream, and I think for me, why not you just made anything seem possible. Somebody told me a very long time ago, I mean, it's just kind of cliche, but we only get one shot at life, right? I mean, it doesn't seem real when you're young because you feel like you're gonna live forever, but you do only get one shot at life, and so let's enjoy life. Let's live life to the fullest. Let's enjoy the little moments that life has to offer and celebrate them. You know, we've had so much rain over the last little while, and it was sunny yesterday, and I went and sat outside for 20 minutes just to celebrate the fact that there's sunshine, right?
Celebrate the sun.
Celebrate the sun. Like, and or, I felt really behind in life, and I had a day where I got through everything. My husband, Brent, came home that night, and I said, feel like I'm so much more caught up, and we celebrated it. He's like, "Way to go." And, like, we talked about it because we kind of almost take that for granted, I think, as we get older. When you're younger, your parents are proud of you all the time. "Oh, way to go on your math test," or "Way to go for reading that book." "Way to go, you brushed your teeth today." Like, all of these little things we celebrate, but we slowly stop because they become expectations. So, I think we've gotta flip that philosophy and say, let's celebrate those little moments, and appreciate ourselves, appreciate the others around us, never stop dreaming. Always you get one shot at life. Try to live life to the fullest. Try new things. Don't keep doing the same old things. I retired from curling and I said to people, I probably will never curl again. People thought I was crazy. Don't you love curling? I think I love curling as much or more than anybody. Like, I love it. I love the feeling of it. But I have spent my whole life curling. I only get one life. So I don't want to spend all my time doing that. I want to try different things. And I think if we can embrace change, embrace evolution, like just evolve, constantly evolve, then we'll always dream because there'll always be something that we want to try next and try different. And so my advice would be celebrate the moments and then don't be afraid of change. Constantly try to evolve and push yourself. By pushing yourself, you keep yourself young. You still feel like you're in your 20s, which I do, which is a great feeling. And you just kind of just keep kinda living life to the fullest.
Yeah, and you are absolutely someone who lives life to the fullest. I have witnessed it behind the scenes. I've joked with your husband about with Brent about just how much, I feel like you have such a cool bucket list of all the things that you have been able to do, the big and little, and, do with your family and all the experiences and the travel that you've created that I know has created a very full life and full schedule. But I really wanna pivot. We'll get into motherhood a little bit more too, but I wanna talk about the book and really how it, because to me, it felt like it was that big bucket list dream for you that, of course, maybe you didn't relate to, like, being a writer initially, but you knew you had this story to share, this incredible, powerful story, and, of course, you're gonna write this book when the opportunity came to you. Can you speak a little bit about even just actually what was the most vulnerable part of writing or publishing the book for you in that process? Or what was something that was maybe unexpected that you really had to push yourself through?
Yeah, no, and writing a book was something I always said I wanted to do, but then when the time came, it was like, it's a book about me. Like, I hold stuff about me very privately. I don't share a lot of private things publicly. My struggles, with having babies or whatever it may be, like, they were all very personal to me. So I think the hardest part for me was being vulnerable. If I was gonna write the book and put my story out there, it couldn't be 50% of the story. It had to be the story. It had to be about what shaped me, what was hard. I wanted people to understand that they're never alone. Like, we all face challenges. People are very surprised. Most people are very surprised to know that I don't have a lot of confidence, right? But then I think it relates to people that maybe feel that way about themselves. And it's like, look, I didn't have a lot of confidence. I found a way to be an Olympic champion, right? Or to do these things. And so that was definitely the hardest part for me. But if I was going to do it, I wanted to put myself out there. It was a lot of work and it was in a very short period of time. So I think for me, another struggle was making sure that I didn't forget anything, and I know I did. Like, I know there's parts that I would've, "Oh, I should have done that," and I didn't wanna leave anybody out. I didn't wanna hurt anybody's feelings, and so I think that was a lot of pressure on me as well to make sure that I did it justice. I did the people in my life justice and the stories, but I also wanted to shape my own story for the girls, for them to read. Part of it was because the media, as I learned, controversy sells more than maybe a little fairy tale story. Lollipop Lane doesn't sell as well as, something that's a little bit more controversial. So I didn't believe that the story was told truthfully. And so I wanted to make sure that I got my story out there and how I felt and how we went through a lot of things. And I think for the kids so that they know, like, I wanna be around forever, but one day I'm not gonna be around, and they'll know the full story. They're around for a lot of it, but they weren't around for all of it, so that was another reason, and it was nice to be able to tell my story from my perspective.
Yeah, really, again, coming back to that piece of reclaiming your narrative and what a beautiful gift that you get to share with your kids. And maybe there's another book if, you're feeling like some pieces were missing. Maybe there's more.
I think there might be, you never know, like, yeah, I would love to do one, a little bit more about my story, but more on maybe leadership or something that, yeah, it just could help
Yeah.
people maybe shape their lives.
Was there anything in the book that you like, felt tempted to edit out or you were just, like, hesitant to share and kind of push especially because you're sharing these personal parts of you that, yeah, felt like it gave you the visibility piece of it, again, coming back to that felt really hard for you.
Really anything that was vulnerable. Obviously, our teen change was a very public and it was a very vulnerable time in my life. That was that was difficult to share. My pregnancy, having a baby, trying to figure that all out with while curling and talking about that. And I never wanted Isabella to feel that we didn't want her because we wanted her 1000%. Like, she was the biggest blessing. I'll never forget when I finally read that little stick and it had, like, pregnant on it, like, it was the best day of my life, and so I wanted to make sure that it was never worded in such a way where she would ever feel it wasn't something we wanted because of other circumstances that were happening around it with people didn't believe that I could curl and compete at the same time as having a baby, and so I think, I wasn't sure whether to share that story because I didn't want her to ever feel a certain way, but I think we did it justice, and she knows how much she's loved and that she was wanted, and because it was planned and everything was planned, but I think I was just nervous about making sure that the girls, I don't know, that they weren't harmed in any way,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
The
because
protective side,
Mhm.
protective mother, but then, like you said, protective of your own relationships as well that I mean, you've experienced firsthand, and you also have experienced the trolling and the negative side of putting your story out there as well, so I can only imagine, it's not like this is the first time that you were doing this, like, you've experienced, again, that full spectrum, but thank goodness you put that out there because I think of that and what a trailblazer you were and are in sport, especially, though, at this time, when motherhood was something that almost like you felt like you had to hide or that you were going to be viewed a certain way or that you couldn't continue on, and I mean, you are such a force, like, you gotta read the book to really understand what Jen experienced in that time in your life, but now your daughters get to see that, and you're that proof of possibility for them of how they never have to choose between motherhood and their biggest dreams, and, one supports the other, and I think it's incredible what you've created through the book and sharing your story that way.
Thank you, and I do like, they do believe, and that's one thing that I always feel like we've done were successful parents because I look at them and they believe anything is possible. They believe that there's nothing they can't achieve, and they can't wait for life's next adventure. And I love that. They're not scared of doing new things, and that's because of watching us live and the life that we've lived, and maybe it is unconventional for some people, but they feel the love, and that's all you can really ever ask for your kids, right? Is that they feel loved and the story is there, and then I look at all these other women in sport. It's interesting because you can see the evolution from when I first started to now, who like a lot of women would give up sports once they had babies. You'd go to the Olympics, and if you were nursing, there was no ability for you to nurse in the village. You couldn't bring your baby in the village and trying to get out of the village. And that's one thing that people didn't understand. They're like, well, just go to them. Well, to go to them in the Olympics, like the transportation and trying to figure out logistics and getting your baby to places. And it's not like, for anybody who's nursed before, it's not like, okay, it's gonna happen at this exact time, and we're gonna, like it just doesn't work like that, right? But now, as of Paris, they do allow nursing moms to have their kids at the Olympics, so you can see the evolution of how things have evolved to allow women, to do both, and I think it was very interesting for me because my husband was also competing at a high level at the exact same time, and the differences of people's opinions, we'll say, and the scrutiny that he got compared to what I got was not even it's not even the same sentence, like, he got none, so and I got quite a bit, so it's quite interesting to me.
Yeah. I'd love to talk about the identity shifts that you've experienced. We talk about identity a lot on this podcast, and I mean, you have and continue to wear so many hats and step into so many roles. And I'm just curious if there's like one specific identity shift that stands out for you, whether that was, becoming mother and curler, becoming an author, um, being a lawyer, like that you could speak to that felt maybe like the biggest shift for you, and how did you navigate that? And maybe it's post-curling, maybe it was retirement and stepping more into like speaker personal brand.
I think there's a couple for me, you're totally this is on the spot, so I did not know this question was coming, so I know I'm gonna, like, look back and think, "Oh, I should have said something different," but I think what comes to me right away, I definitely identify as being a mom. But not but a mom that wears many hats, like a mom that, I don't know, just I wanna inspire the girls to be anything they wanna be. So this mom who encourages, but then wants them to thrive on their own. So, like, I identify with being a mom for sure, but I also think for me, I identify with being a leader. And that's not something I think I would have said many years ago, but that's where I feel authentically myself. Like, which again is very weird for me to say because like when I'm on stage giving a speech, I just feel lost in the moment. I can see like especially when the crowd's engaged and you can feel like they're listening and things are resonating with them and you feel like, oh, maybe I'm making a difference. Like that fills my heart. That fills my soul. Like when you feel like you've made an impact. So I think for me, identifying as being a leader and then a mom in that caring space where just a supportive mom, I'll say.
Yeah, I love it. I'm interrupting this episode real quick to tell you about something super special coming this fall. I am so excited to officially introduce the Favorite Self Retreat, a 1 day in person experience unlike anything we've ever created before. Together, we're going to uncover and rewrite the old stories keeping you stuck, reconnect with the gifts and parts of yourself that you may have lost along the way, and help you step into what's next, feeling clearer, more grounded, and safe to be fully seen. If you've been loving the conversations on this podcast around identity, visibility, becoming, and reconnecting with your favorite self, you are going to love this experience. You can join the waitlist now through the link in the show notes to be the first to receive the date, location, full details, and early access to tickets. Okay, back to the episode. And then, in terms of kind of circling to the shift of Jennifer Jones beyond the curling rink, beyond the ice, what do you think has been the biggest shift for you in that? And how do you define success now in this season of life and business and all the things.
I think that would probably be the biggest change for me is what are my benchmarks now? Like, I do love goals and benchmarks, and when we were curling, it was easy. It's like, "Okay, this is where we wanna get to. We'll break it down. We'll have little goals. We have performance goals, nutritional goals, whatever it may be. You have goals. It's easy." And now I retired, and I still had dreams and goals, but they were just different and harder to measure success on, I guess you could say. Like, it was easier to measure success in benchmarks, but I've tried to break it down so that I can feel good about things. Like, I had a goal of writing a book, and I got that done. So, but when I was writing the book, I had goals of doing certain chapters by certain days so I could really measure my benchmark. I had a goal of being on TV and broadcasting. So I've achieved that, but now I wanna be maybe I can get into other sports. Like, obviously, curling was a natural fit because I know curling, but I really do enjoy that part of things. So now maybe now I'm kind of trying to expand that and maybe try to get into a different space, and just a goal of growing my brand into a point where I can become a leader and talk about it and maybe potentially help and mentor other people and trying to get over their insecurities. So it's a little bit different to measure, but I've tried to make it again. I have like 5-year goals and then I try to break it down to measure that success. And with our business, our Weedman business, Weedman Mosquito Hero, I should say business, is that we try to we have that one's a little bit easier. You have revenue targets, you have targets that you're trying to achieve where we want to grow it to. We have customer satisfaction targets, which is big for us. We want to make sure our customers are happy and because I think that actually gives us joy, to be honest. It actually bothers me if somebody is not happy or we'll get like a review that's not good, but then we realize it might not be a review for us. It's like for somebody else. And so you try to like rectify all of that. So we're really big on making sure our customers are happy because I think it actually brings us joy. It's like being a part of a team and you just feel like you're letting your team down if everybody's not happy. So it's good. Like I love that part. So measuring success again is having these for me longer term visions, breaking it down, whether it's monetary, whether it's, personal feelings. Like, for me with the kids, I wanna make sure that they're happy and that they're feeling good. We're entering teenage years. I want them to feel positive about themselves. So that's kinda my mom goal, and if that's happening, then I'm feeling like I'm working well there, and then I have, like, my kind of business entrepreneurial grow goal of, like, my speaking and all of that and where I want to take that and try to measure that from just how I'm feeling, how it's going, and then I guess how many I'm doing, and then from our Weedman Mosquito Hero business, again, it's just more bringing it down into like, we have 4 different kind of pillars that we're trying to achieve success in and making sure that we actually talk about it regularly to see if we're on track.
I love that. We have a little bit of time here. I really wanted to come back to, what it's like now showing up on social media, with the book and you've shared your story in so many ways and really reclaim that authorship. You have the website that we were so thrilled to be able to work with you on and launching that into the world and having this home base for your personal brand. What do you think has surprised you the most when it comes to how you show up online on social media? And what's been like the biggest challenge there that you've had to work through?
Yeah, I never thought I'd ever be on social media. Like, I joined Facebook during COVID so my kids could talk to their friends. That's so and Facebook's been around forever. Like, I just never thought I would be that person because I was so private and so personal. It's actually been very liberating and very freeing to be able to share your story, tell your story, just put yourself out there, and not that you don't care, because I still do care what people think as much as you say you don't. I care less, we'll say, I care less, but it's very freeing trying to create a brand where it represents who I am as a person. I love that because I think it shapes who you are. My kids can see that, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of who I am, and so now it's kind of out there. Launching the website was something I was like, "Why would I do that?" And then, wrapping your head around it it and just seeing it, and I love the way it looks. So I never it's something that I never thought I would do, but I found it very liberating and freeing, and it actually brings me joy. I never thought again I'd say that. I find it fun to kind of think of things to put yourself out there. I love people's reactions. I'm trying to get better at communicating with people because I read them all. And this is my own personal problem. So I read all the comments and I know I can just like them, but I always think, well, that doesn't it's not as deserve they deserve more of my time than just a little thumbs up. I wanna give them a comment. I wanna talk to them, I want to engage, but then I'll get sidetracked with driving the kids, and that's my problem is I drive too much. So I'm driving everywhere, and then you can't do that while you're driving. So that's one of my goals. It's one of my goals is to try to get a little bit better at that and trying to figure out because I do like engaging. I like people to feel that I care because I sincerely and authentically do care, and I want them to feel that. I don't wanna just give a thumbs up. I don't want a thumbs up. I want somebody to actually respond to my question if I put something in there. I don't want just a thumbs up. So, I'm trying to figure that all out, but it's been good. Like, I'm glad I did it. I feel I think by going on social media, it's actually made me more confident and not less. I think it's given me because I feel good with what's out there. I feel like I'm sharing my story. I'm not allowing other people to do it for me. And it's changed me as a person. I feel so much better about myself. And so regardless of everything else, it's given me a much more positive self image, I guess. Like, I feel better about me because of all the things that we're doing, which crazy, crazy.
I think that's so cool. And I also just want to recognize that you have a large audience, you get a lot of engagement, you get a lot of comments, and, it's a lot of time and energy to spend commenting and replying as much as, like, you want to, but I think you do it also in other ways, when you show up on stories and you talk to the camera and you answer people's questions in a live, and you're still engaging, you're showing them that you're paying attention, but yes, like, the reality is that maybe you're not able to answer every comment because you are driving your daughters to dance and you're being present there and you're focusing on that. I think you do you're such a leader in that and how you segment your time when exactly like you said, you're not the parent that's at dance, head down on your phone. When you're with your girls in that moment, that's where your time and energy is, and there's only so much of us that we have to give as well. So you give so much in terms of the content you're creating and the way you show up, and, you can feel it in the community and how much they love following along with what you're doing.
Yeah. We always say be where your feet are, right? So when I'm with my kids, I'm with them. When I'm driving, obviously, you cannot do that. But I just want people to know that I really do care. And I love when they comment. I love it.
Yeah.
And but it's a problem I have, like I said. It's like I can't do anything halfway. I have to do it all or none, and sometimes halfway is probably better than none, so I'm working on that. That's something I'm working on. Like, I'm a
There you go.
perfectionist,
It's like that 20-minute workout that you mentioned, right?
right?
So, like, the comments and you know what? It still shows other people, even if it's not their comment, they see that you commented, they see that you're there and reading the comments.
I read them all.
Um,
I read them all,
yeah,
so thank you.
yeah.
Yes.
And I did just wanna circle back to motherhood before we kinda wrap with a couple questions and, really just ask you, a little bit about what it's meant for your kids. We talked about this a little bit, but what it's meant for them to witness these big wins that they've gotten to experience with you both through the sport and have this front row seat to that, but also, the other outside of that with the book and other really cool things that you've been able to do. But they've also witnessed your losses. And not even just in sport, but, like, the hard times and the transitions too, and I'm just so curious if you could reflect on kind of from their perspective and what that's been like for you and for them navigating that together.
I love that they're there. It always gives me good perspective. I think they've given me this just I always thought I had good perspective. I think that's something that I always felt like I was strong in, is that curling wasn't the be all or end all, but the girls have definitely accentuated that. Like, so when I'm on the ice, win or lose, I'm okay, right? Like, I've got this incredible family and these kids, and it's amazing. But they're so proud of me. I always thought that they'd feel pressure because of what Brent and I have done. Like, we've both gone to the Olympics, like, there's lots of things, and they're just so proud. And I'll go and I'll talk at the girls' school, and they're so proud. They beam with pride, and I think because they see how much hard work and then they'll say to me when they're working on something that's tough or challenging, whether it's a school project or something, it's like, Just one step at a time, mom, right? We can do anything. And I'm like, yeah, because that's what I say. Like when we're on, that's just one step at a time. We can do anything. We can. I think the hardest one for me, and it wasn't even a loss because they know for me that a loss, yes, sometimes it makes me a little bit sad, but it's okay. Like it's okay. I tried my best. And that's what I always say. Did I try my best? Yeah. Mom tried her best and it just didn't work out. And that's okay. Yes, it still feels a little bit sad, and that's okay. Because if we didn't care, why would we do it? Right. So it's okay to feel sad, but as long as I have that perspective. But when I retired from curling, and they came on the ice and they begged me to change my mind. And the TV cameras were on, and so they asked me, "So is this it for sure?" And they're looking at me, "Please change your mind." So it was like this hard moment, and it was all because when I talked to them, "You can't give up on your dreams, mom." And I and that actually made me so happy in that moment because they believe that dreaming is what life is all about, right? So I believe them watching our curling, seeing the losses has helped them in their endeavors, seeing the wins and seeing that you can succeed, that dreams do come true. But then also know that we're a family. We believe that we should chase dreams and you shouldn't give up easily on your dream. And it's like, I wasn't giving up. I was just done. Like, I had different dreams, right? But like for them in that moment, they didn't want me. I think they felt part of me was giving up my dreams for them. And that's something that we talked about after. It's like, yes, I want to spend more time with you, but that's what I want. It's not because of you, it's because that's what I want. But I even look at social media and I think it's been really good training for them as they enter that world and of social media, because sometimes people won't be kind. It's just a part of the world, and the girls will read it, sometimes, and they'll say, "Doesn't that make you wanna cry, mom?" Or like, "That's so mean." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is, but you know what? I don't know that person, and that person doesn't know me, and I can't let them hurt me because they don't know who I am. It's just words on a paper." They don't even have any meaning really behind them because there's no context, right? And so we've talked a lot about that. So I say, so if somebody writes something crazy about you or something mean about you, you don't necessarily have to take it as fact. Like it can't hurt you the way you think it can. And so, because I know that's going to be a reality for them, it just happens. And so that part's been really good too. Like the whole just being in the public eye and what we have to figure out has given them, they're very polished, they shake hands, they look at people's eyes, like, even when they're little kids, because they just mirror us, right? So I think that there's been a lot of great lessons along the way.
I'm so excited to watch what them continue to accomplish amazing things and eventually become prime minister and just change the world because of what they've been able to experience, with you. It's really incredible. It makes me very emotional, like hearing you share that. I think, it's what any parent dreams of and hopes for. So yeah, I love that now we get to see what they're up to and all the cool things that they're doing, and that's only gonna continue. And this was so fun, Jen. I just so appreciate you being here. I'd love to maybe leave it on, for someone listening who is building a brand around their story, but maybe they feel a little more nervous or hesitant or introverted when it comes to showing up and putting themselves out there and being more visible and stepping into that leadership role. What kind of words would you leave them with? What advice would you give them?
Just focus and surround yourself with people who support you. And I know you have one or two or five. Just those are the key people in your life. Those are the people that matter. Surround yourself with those people and then put yourself out there because then it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks because you have your people. You have your people, your support network. Just put yourself out there. Take that step. It's you're never going to regret it. It's just take that moment and don't be afraid of change. Evolve, live life to the fullest and have that courage because if as long as you have those people, everything's gonna be okay.
So true. So true. Find your believers. And Jen, I have to ask, what does your favorite self feel like in this current season for you?
My favorite self. These are tough. Um, My favorite self is right now is just living in the moment, making sure I am where my feet are. I've needed a couple of reminders lately because it's very, very busy and you feel like you're just trying to get through the day. So be where your feet are, make sure you enjoy the moment, make sure that tomorrow you can look back on yesterday and you knew exactly what you were doing and how you felt and what it smelled like because you took a moment to be present and be there. So I think that's where I am right now is just remind myself, be where my feet are. It's kind of a downtime for me over the summer. So to take a breath, to refuel, spend some quality time with my family and just be authentically me.
Yes. And what's the best way for people to connect with you and follow along on your journey? We'll put everything in the show notes, but
Yeah, you can follow me along at J Jones Curl on Instagram, at Rockstars Curl, our podcast. Make sure you check it out. My husband and I do it. Apparently, I think it's funny. People find it funny, so you can listen along and my website. Make sure you check it out.
yes, definitely check out the podcast. It is hilarious, the banter between Jen and Brent and just sharing all their stories and wisdom. And absolutely get your copy of Rockstars. It's so good. And you can do all that through Jen's website, her beautiful website. Thank you so much for being on the Favorite Self podcast. This was such a pleasure and a privilege to have you. And I'm so excited for all the feedback to come from this episode. If something really resonated with you, be sure to share it with us. We would love to hear from you, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Favorite Self podcast. If this episode stirred something in you, there's a reason for it. You could take a moment to share with a friend, someone who's also building something brave. That would mean so much to me. Better yet, leave a review. It helps this message reach even more women who are ready to lead differently. And before you go, remember this. Your favorite self is already within you, waiting to be heard. See you next time.